Respected, you didn't click on this video by accident. Something inside you, something deep, something that's been quiet for too long brought you here. And before this is over, I need you to understand one thing. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is losing sleep over your dreams. Nobody is lying awake at night worried about whether you make it or not. And the sooner you accept that truth, the sooner your real life begins. Let me take you somewhere. Let me take you back to a moment that changed everything for me, not just the way I thought about success, but the way I thought about life itself. There was a man, and I want you to really see him sitting in a car. Not a nice car, a beat up, broken down car on the side of a road in Cleveland, Ohio. It's cold outside, the kind of cold that gets into your bones and reminds you that the world doesn't care how you feel. He didn't have a home. He didn't have a family nearby. He didn't have money. What he had was a sleeping bag, a cooler, a dream that most people had already laughed at, and a belief, a stubborn, unreasonable, almost foolish belief that he was born for something greater than what he was currently living. That man was me. And I'm not telling you that story so you can feel sorry for me. I'm telling you that story because I need you to understand something that took me years, painful, humbling, grinding years to finally accept. Nobody cared. Not one single person in that city was lying awake thinking, I wonder if Steve Harvey is going to be okay. Not one. The world kept spinning. People kept going to work. People kept laughing and celebrating and living their lives. And there I was in that car with nothing but a dream and the question that would define the rest of my life. Am I going to let the silence of the world break me, or am I going to use it to build me? That question, that one question, is why I'm standing here today. And it's the same question I'm asking you right now. Because here's what I've learned in all my years of living, failing, rising, falling again, and rising higher than I ever imagined. The moment you stop waiting for the world to notice you, to validate you, to choose you, that is the exact moment your life starts to change. Nobody cares. And that is the greatest gift you will ever receive. Now, I know that sounds harsh. I know some of you are sitting there right now thinking, Steve, that's cold, that's cruel, people care about me, and maybe they do. I'm not saying the people who love you don't love you. Your mama loves you. Your children love you. Maybe your husband or your wife loves you. But let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question. Does their love pay your bills? Does their love wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym for you? Does their love study for your exam? Does their love write your business plan? Does their love make the call you've been afraid to make for the last 3 years? Number. Love is beautiful. Love is necessary. But love alone will not build your destiny. Only you can do that. Only the work you put in the dark, when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody even knows you're trying, only that work will build the life you were created to live. And this is where I want to start today, because I believe with everything in me that we live in a generation. And I say this with love. I say this with deep concern. We live in a generation that has confused attention with achievement. We have confused followers with friends. We have confused likes with legacy. We are so obsessed with being seen that we have forgotten how to be great. Let me tell you something about greatness. Greatness is not loud. Greatness is not always pretty. Greatness doesn't always trend on social media. Greatness is quiet. Greatness is consistent. Greatness is the 4:47 in the morning when your alarm goes off and every bone in your body says stay in bed, but something in your spirit, something God placed in you before you were even born whispers, get up. There's work to do. And you get up. That's greatness. I want to talk to the people in this room, and I'm using the word room loosely because I know some of you are watching this on your phone in your car during your lunch break. Some of you are watching this in bed because sleep won't come and your mind won't rest. Some of you are watching this because you're at a crossroads and you don't know which way to turn. I want to talk to every single one of you because I've been all of those people. I've been the person in the car. I've been the person who couldn't sleep. I've been the person standing at the crossroads with no map and no compass and nothing but a whisper inside telling me to keep going. And I want you to hear me clearly when I say this. The whisper is enough. You are enough. And where you're going is worth every single thing you're going through right now. But you've got to stop. You've got to stop doing the one thing that is silently killing your potential. And that one thing is living for other people's approval. I see it every single day. I see people making career decisions based on what their family thinks. I see people staying in cities they hate because their friends are there. I see people abandoning their dreams because somebody who has never built anything, somebody who has never taken a risk, somebody who has never stepped off the edge of comfort and leaped into the unknown, somebody looked at them and said, that's not realistic. And instead of saying, watch me, they folded. They put the dream in a drawer. They went and got the safe job. They married the safe choice. They lived the safe life. And 20 years later, they're sitting somewhere wondering why they feel empty, wondering why they feel like something is missing, wondering why they wake up every morning with this ache, this deep, persistent ache that tells them they never really lived. Don't let that be you. Please, don't let that be you. I remember when I told people I was going to be a comedian. I want you to understand the response I got. These weren't strangers. These were people close to me, people who knew me. And the look on their faces, I'll never forget it. It was a combination of pity and confusion. Like I had just told them I wanted to fly to the moon in a paper airplane. And the words that followed weren't much better. You, a comedian? Boy, you need to get serious. You need to get a real job. You need to stop playing around with your life. And here's what I did. Here's what changed everything. I got quiet, not because I agreed with them, not because their words broke me. I got quiet because I realized something profound in that moment. The people who are telling you what you can't do are not going where you're going. They don't have the vision you have. They can't see what you see. And you cannot afford to let someone else's limited vision become the ceiling of your life. So I stopped explaining myself. I stopped seeking permission. I stopped waiting for someone to tell me it was okay to chase my dream. I focused, I worked, I prayed. I got in a room and I practiced my craft every single day, not because someone was watching, not because someone was applauding, but because I knew deep in my soul that this was what I was put on this earth to do. And no one else's opinion of that calling was going to matter more to me than the voice of God that placed it there. And I want you to understand something about that season of my life. That season wasn't glamorous. There was no camera crew following me around. There was no highlight reel. There was no viral moment. There was just a man and his dream and the daily, boring, unglamorous, beautiful work of becoming who God made him to be. Because here's what they don't show you on the highlight reels. They show you the moment of arrival. They show you the award, the standing ovation, the check, the car, the house, but they don't show you the Tuesday nights when you doubted everything. They don't show you the calls that went unanswered. They don't show you the rejection letters. They don't show you the moments when you cried. And yes, strong people cried. Because it takes strength to feel deeply. They don't show you the moments when you looked in the mirror and had to talk yourself back from the edge of quitting. That's the part that matters most. That's the part that builds character. That's the part that shapes you into someone who can actually handle the blessing when it comes. Because let me tell you something, and this is important, a blessing that arrives before you're ready for it will destroy you. The reason God sometimes makes you wait is not because he forgot about you. It's because he loves you too much to give you something you're not equipped to carry. So the struggle isn't punishment. The struggle is preparation. Every single difficult thing you have ever been through, every loss, every betrayal, every disappointment, every door that was slammed in your face was not the universe working against you. It was the universe working on you, shaping you, strengthening you, removing things from your life that were too small for where you were going. And I know that's hard to see when you're in the middle of it. I know when you're hurting, it doesn't feel like preparation. It just feels like pain. But trust the process. Trust the God who created you with a purpose so specific, so unique, so extraordinary that no one else on this planet can fulfill it but you. Trust that and then get to work. Because here's the thing about focus, and this is where I want to spend some time because I think this is the area where most people get lost. Focus is not just about working hard. Focus is about working intentionally. It's about knowing your why so deeply, so completely that no distraction, no opinion, no setback, no shiny opportunity that's not aligned with your purpose can pull you off course. Most people are not living their lives. They are reacting to their lives. Something happens and they react. Somebody says something and they react. An opportunity appears that isn't right for them, but it looks good and they react. And before they know it, 5 years have passed and they haven't moved 1 inch closer to the thing they said they wanted because they were too busy reacting to everything around them to focus on the one thing that matters, their purpose. I want to ask you something and I want you to answer it honestly, not to me, to yourself. When was the last time you sat in complete silence and asked yourself, what do I actually want? Not what your parents want for you, not what your spouse thinks you should be doing, not what society says success looks like. What do you want? What lights you up? What makes you lose track of time? What breaks your heart when you think about leaving this earth without having done it? That's your dream. That's your gift. And I believe this absolutely that your gift is not for you. Your gift is your contribution to the world. Your gift is the reason you were born. And when you ignore your gift, when you bury it, when you let other people's fear talk you out of it, you don't just rob yourself. You rob the world of everything you were sent here to give. And that, to me, is the saddest thing I can imagine. Now, I know some of you are sitting there and you're thinking about your situation. You're thinking about the bills that are due. You're thinking about the family responsibilities. You're thinking about the risk, the uncertainty, the fear. And I want to acknowledge all of that because I'm not here to dismiss your reality. Your challenges are real. Your responsibilities are real. Your fear is real. But let me ask you this, is your dream not equally real? Is the vision God gave you the one that keeps showing up in your mind no matter how many times you try to suppress it? Is that not real? Is the ache in your chest when you think about what your life could be, is that not real? Is the voice inside you that has never, not once in your entire life told you to settle, is that not real? It's real. It's more real than your fear, and it's more powerful than any obstacle in your path. You just have to decide. And this is the part nobody wants to talk about because it requires taking personal responsibility in a world that has become very comfortable with blame. You have to decide that you are going to stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. You have to decide that you are going to stop waiting for the right moment, the right resources, the right amount of courage, because that moment is never coming. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that your dream is more important than your fear. And the moment you make that decision, truly make it in your heart, not just in your head, everything begins to shift. I've watched it happen. I've lived it. And I've seen it in the lives of thousands of people I've been blessed to speak to over the years. The moment a person truly commits, not halfway, not I'll try, not maybe, but fully, completely, with every piece of themselves, the moment they commit, doors begin to open that they didn't even know existed. Because God responds to commitment in ways he doesn't respond to wishing. Wishing is passive. Commitment is active, and God blesses action. So let me leave you with this as we move through this first part of our journey together today. I want you to make a decision right now, not tomorrow, not after this video, right now. I want you to decide that from this moment forward, you are going to stop living for the audience and start living for the assignment. You are going to stop measuring your progress by what other people can see and start measuring it by who you are becoming in the quiet, in the dark, in the moments that no one else witnesses. Because the truth that changed my life and that I believe with everything in me can change yours is that nobody cares. And that's not a tragedy. That is your freedom. When nobody cares, you don't have to perform for anyone. When nobody cares, you don't have to be perfect for anyone. When nobody cares, you are free completely, gloriously free to become exactly who God created you to be at exactly the pace He set for you, on exactly the path He designed for you. And that path, I promise you, leads somewhere so beautiful that if I described it to you today, you wouldn't believe me. But you will. One day you will. So focus, work, believe. And above all, above everything else, keep going. Let me tell you something that nobody in your life is probably going to tell you. And I say this not to be harsh, not to be cruel, but because I believe that the greatest act of love is honesty. Real love doesn't always feel good in the moment. Real love sometimes says the hard thing, the uncomfortable thing, the thing that makes you sit up straight and look at your life differently. So what I'm about to say, I say it with love, deep, genuine, from the heart love. You are the problem. Now wait, before you close this video, before you get defensive, before you start listing all the reasons why your situation is different, why your circumstances are unique, why the obstacles in your path are bigger than what I'm giving them credit for, just wait. Give me a few minutes, because I'm not saying your struggles aren't real. I'm not saying the system hasn't failed some of you. I'm not saying life has been fair, because life is not always fair, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. What I am saying is this: in the middle of every unfair situation, every broken system, every stacked deck, there is still a choice, and the choice is yours. It has always been yours. I want to take you somewhere again. I want to take you to a conversation I had with a young man. He couldn't have been more than 24, 25 years old. Sharp kid, smart. You could see it in his eyes the moment you met him. He had that thing that spark that you can't teach. He came up to me after one of my events, and he had this energy about him, this mix of desperation and desire. And he said, "Steve, I want what you have. I want to be where you are. I want the success, the platform, the influence. Tell me how to get there." And I looked at him and I said, "How many hours a day are you working on your gift?" And he got quiet. Then he said, "Well, I work a full-time job, and I've got some things going on at home. And I've been trying to find the right time to really commit to it, you know? I've been waiting for things to settle down a little bit so I can really focus." And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said something to him that I want to say to you right now, because I believe some of you need to hear this more than you need to hear anything else today. I said, "Son, things are never going to settle down. Life is never going to hand you a quiet season and say, 'Here you go, now's the perfect time to chase your dream.' The chaos is permanent. The responsibilities are permanent. The distractions are permanent. The question is not when are things going to calm down. The question is, who are you going to be in the middle of the chaos?" And I watched something move across his face. I watched the excuse dissolve, because deep down he already knew. Deep down you always know. The mind is remarkable at building elaborate justifications for why we're not doing the thing we know we should be doing. We are creative, resourceful, intelligent people, and we use all of that creativity and resourcefulness and intelligence to construct the most beautiful, airtight, emotionally compelling reasons for why we can't, why we shouldn't, why now isn't the right time. But I want to challenge something in you today. I want to challenge the story you've been telling yourself. Because here's what I know about stories: the story you tell about your life becomes the life you live. If you tell yourself the story that you're unlucky, you will find evidence of bad luck everywhere you look. If you tell yourself the story that people like you don't make it, then you will unconsciously make decisions that confirm that story. If you tell yourself that your best years are behind you, that the window has closed, that you missed your moment, then every morning you wake up, you will feel that story in your bones, and it will make you smaller than you were born to be. But what if you change the story? What if starting today, you told yourself a different story? Not a fantasy, not a delusion. A real, grounded, honest story that acknowledges the difficulty while refusing to be defined by it. A story that says, yes, it's hard. Yes, I've been knocked down. Yes, there are real obstacles in front of me. and I am still going. I am still here. And as long as I am still here, this story is not over, because it's not over, not even close. I want to talk about something that I think is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the world of motivation and self-development, and it's the concept of focus. Because people hear the word focus and they think it means working more. They think it means grinding harder. They think it means giving up sleep and giving up rest and running yourself into the ground until your body breaks down. And that's not focus. That's self-destruction with a good marketing campaign. Real focus is about something much deeper. Real focus is about alignment. It's about making sure that the way you spend your hours is connected to the reason you were put on this earth. It's about looking at your daily life, your actual daily life, not the life you say you're working toward, and asking yourself honestly, does how I spend my time reflect what I say I value? Because most people have a profound disconnect between what they say matters to them and how they actually spend their time. They say their family is their priority, but they haven't had a real, present, undistracted conversation with their children in weeks. They say their health matters, but they haven't moved their body with intention in months. They say their dream is real, but they spend 4 hours a night scrolling through other people's lives instead of building their own. And I understand it. I understand it because I have lived it. I have been that person. I have been the person who was so exhausted from performing for the world that I had nothing left for the things that actually mattered. I have been the person who confused being busy with being productive, who confused movement with progress, who confused noise with impact. And one day, one very quiet, very humbling day, I had to sit down with myself and have the most honest conversation I'd ever had. I had to say, Steve, where are you actually going? Not where do you tell people you're going? Not where do you look like you're going from the outside? Where are you actually going? And is the path you're on taking you there? That conversation was uncomfortable. That conversation was painful. Because the truth, when you let it in without defense, without spin, without excuse, the truth is not always pretty, but it is always necessary, and it is always, always worth it. So I want to invite you into that conversation today, not because it will be easy, but because on the other side of that honest conversation with yourself is a version of you that you haven't met yet. A version of you that is clearer, stronger, more purposeful, more alive. A version of you that doesn't need external validation because they have found something far more reliable, internal conviction. And internal conviction, let me tell you, is the most powerful force in the human experience. When you know not hope, not wish, not wonder, when you know who you are and why you're here, the opinions of other people lose their grip on you. The criticism stops cutting so deep. The rejection stops feeling so final because you have an anchor. You have a North Star, and no storm, no matter how fierce, can make you lose sight of it. Now, I want to talk about the people around you, because I think this is something we don't address enough in these conversations about success and focus and purpose. We talk a lot about mindset. We talk about strategy, we talk about work ethic, but we don't talk enough about environment. And environment, the people you surround yourself with, the conversations you allow into your life. The voices you give authority to environment will make or break you more quickly than almost any other factor. Let me be direct about this. There are people in your life right now who are not good for your growth. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not saying they don't love you in their own way, but I am saying this: there are people around you who every time you share your vision, your excitement, your dream, they dim your light. They might do it subtly. They might do it with a look, a sigh, a well-meaning, just be realistic. They might not even realize they're doing it. But every interaction with them leaves you feeling smaller than when you arrived. And I need you to hear me on this, because this is something I wish someone had told me much earlier in my journey. You cannot afford to keep people in your inner circle who don't believe in where you're going. You cannot. It is too expensive. The cost of that relationship is being paid with the currency of your potential. And your potential is not something you can afford to spend on people who can't see your greatness. Now, this doesn't mean you cut everyone off. This doesn't mean you become cold or isolated. What it means is that you become intentional about whose voices you allow to matter. It means you learn the difference between a critic and an advisor, between someone who challenges you to grow and someone who challenges you to shrink. It means you start to notice who in your life speaks life into you and who drains the life out of you, and you make conscious decisions about how much access each of those people has to your heart, your mind, and your time. Because here's what I know. Show me your 5 closest friends and I will show you your future. Show me the conversations you have the most, the thoughts you entertain the longest, the beliefs you have about yourself and what you deserve, and I will show you exactly where you're headed. Not because I'm a prophet, but because the evidence is everywhere for anyone who is willing to look honestly. And I want to talk about something else, something I think about often. Something that I believe is at the root of so much human suffering and so much wasted potential. And that is the comparison trap, the deadly soul-crushing habit of measuring your beginning against someone else's middle, of looking at someone else's highlight reel and comparing it to your behind the scenes, of seeing someone else's blessing and feeling like their gain somehow diminishes your opportunity. It doesn't. It never did. Somebody else's success is not your failure. Read that again. Somebody else's success is not your failure. There is not a limited supply of greatness in this world. There is not a finite amount of blessing with your name on it, and every time someone else achieves something, your portion gets smaller. That is not how this works. That has never been how this works. But we live in a world, and social media has made this exponentially worse, where we are constantly confronted with the appearance of other people's success. And if you're not careful, if you're not anchored in your own identity and your own timeline, the comparison will eat you alive. It will make you rush decisions that require patience. It will make you abandon strategies that need more time. It will make you feel behind in a race that you're not even supposed to be running. Because your race is yours. Your timeline is yours. Your path was custom designed for you with your specific strengths, your specific destination in mind. And the moment you start running someone else's race, you get off your path. And when you're off your path, you're lost. And when you're lost, you're not focused. And when you're not focused, the years go by and you look up one day and wonder where your life went. I don't want that for you. I want better than that for you. So here's what I want you to practice. Starting today, starting right now, every time you feel the pull of comparison, every time you see someone else's success and feel that familiar sting, I want you to do one thing. I want you to turn your eyes back to your own page, back to your own work, back to your own life. And I want you to ask yourself one question. What can I do today, not tomorrow, not next week? What can I do today to move one step closer to where I'm trying to go? One step, that's it. Not the whole staircase, not the entire mountain. One step. Because here's what most people don't understand about the journey to a great life. They look at people who have achieved big things and they think there was a moment, one dramatic, cinematic moment where everything changed. And sometimes there is a moment like that. But what preceded that moment? What made that moment possible? 10,000 small steps, 10,000 ordinary days of ordinary choices made with extraordinary consistency. 10,000 mornings of getting up and doing the work when it would have been easier not to. Greatness is not a moment. Greatness is a habit, and habits are built in the daily, unglamorous, unseen, unshared moments of decision. I want to tell you about the period in my life after I started performing comedy. Because people think, and I laugh at this now, but at the time it was anything but funny. People think that once you get your first break, once you get your first yes, the hard part is over. Let me disabuse you of that notion right now. The first yes is not the end of the struggle. In many ways, it's the beginning of a deeper one, because now you have something to lose. Now the stakes feel higher. Now the doubt whispers louder. Now the fear has a name and a face and a very specific set of scenarios it likes to run through your mind at 2 a.m. I was performing at clubs, small clubs, loud clubs, clubs where sometimes more people were behind the bar than in front of it. Clubs where people weren't there to see me, they were there to drink, to talk, to exist in a space, and I was just the background noise. And I had to stand on that stage and command their attention. Had to earn it every single night from people who owed me nothing and cared about me even less. And there were nights when I failed, nights when the jokes didn't land, nights when I walked off that stage and sat in my car and wondered if I was fooling myself. If the dream was bigger than the dreamer, if the people who had looked at me with pity and confusion had been right all along. But then something would happen, something small, something quiet, a memory of why I started. A sense, not an argument, not a logical case, but a deep, wordless sense that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And I would get back up, and I would go back to the next club, and I would stand on the next stage, and I would try again. Because the people who ultimately succeed are not the people who never fail. They are the people who fail and come back. The people who get knocked down and refuse to interpret the fall as the final word. The people who understand in their bones that every rejection is a redirection and every setback is a setup for a comeback that nobody saw coming. And let me say something about comebacks, because I love this concept. I love it because I've lived it more than once. A comeback is only possible if you didn't give up. And that seems obvious, but think about how many people give up just before the breakthrough. Think about how many people stop digging 3 feet from the gold. Think about how many people quit the conversation, quit the business, quit the relationship with themselves, quit the pursuit of their purpose just when things were about to shift. You don't know how close you are. You genuinely don't know. The door you've been knocking on might be about to open. The seed you've been watering might be about to break through the soil. The conversation you need might be one introduction away. And if you quit today, you will never know. You will spend the rest of your life carrying the weight of what might have been. And let me tell you, and I know this from experience, the weight of what might have been is heavier than any failure. Any failure, because failure teaches you something. Failure builds something. Failure is instructive, but regret is just pain with no lesson attached. So don't quit. Please don't quit. I want to close this part of our conversation by talking about something that I think is foundational to everything we've discussed. And that is the importance of knowing yourself, not performing yourself, not presenting yourself. Knowing yourself. Because here's the dangerous thing about living for other people's approval, and this is something I had to learn the hard way. When you spend years performing for an audience, when you spend years shaping yourself to fit other people's expectations, when you spend years saying what people want to hear and being who people want you to be, you can lose track of who you actually are. And when you lose yourself, you lose your direction, because your direction comes from your identity. Your purpose comes from your authentic self. And if you don't know who you are, you cannot know where you're going. So I want to challenge you as we move forward in this conversation to begin the practice of coming home to yourself, to spend time in your own company without the noise of the world, to sit in the silence and let the silence speak to you, to ask the hard questions and have the courage to wait for honest answers, to peel back the layers of who you've been told to be and discover who you were made to be. Because underneath all of it, underneath the roles you play, the titles you carry, the masks you've learned to wear, there is a person, a real, complex, beautiful, powerful, God-designed person with gifts that are specific to them, with a purpose that is unique to them, with a story that belongs only to them. And that person deserves to be fully alive. That person deserves to stop shrinking, to stop apologizing for taking up space, to stop making themselves smaller so that other people feel comfortable, to stop waiting for permission. That person deserves to rise. And I believe they will. I believe you will.